Aloha everyone! I know it's been quite a while since our last update, and we just wanted to say thank you to all of you who have written to us in the last 2.5 years and has asked us how we're doing, has told us that they're praying for us, and have been asking for an update. We're finally here to make that final update in our journey.
So, as you may recall, about 7 years ago now, in 2018, we lost our home in the Kilauea eruption.
Yep.
Since that time, we have been working very diligently toward reestablishing a new homestead here in Hawaii. And so
It's been quite a journey.
it's been
hasn't
quite a
it?
journey. We have been living here for close to 1.5 years now.
Yeah, and it sure has been a huge blessing. But a little bit more about that later in the video. Right now, let's pick up where we left off.
So at the last video that we made, we were about 1/3 of the way through the building process, with 2/3 left to go.
We didn't know it back then. We thought we were really close.
And it was, as you've seen in the previous video, that was a difficult first 6 months. And unfortunately, it was difficult all the way through.
Yes, it did not get any better until the very last, maybe a month or so, right? When we finally had everything done, electrical, plumbing, and drywall, and then we needed to have some finishing work. We had such a blessing in one of our friends, a family who has just moved around that time here. They moved back, Jake and Ashley. Special thanks to them because Jake really helped us to finish the house and helped us move in. And we are just very, very grateful for that.
Yeah, that was a tremendous blessing after,
Yeah, after
a series of, unending catastrophes.
For sure. Now, going back to the journey, as difficult as the journey of rebuilding and replanting was, it became a lot more difficult when, in the beginning of 2022, we found out that there's a war started in Ukraine. And for those of you who don't know, I am born and raised in Ukraine, and my family, my parents, are still there, still in the conflict, pretty much in the front lines. And as you can imagine, this journey, first of all, took a toll on all of us, especially I would say on me, on the physical health, the mental health, the spiritual health. It took us to the utmost, you know what I mean? And it was bad enough that there was war and now my parents were in danger. But later on, I think the next year after that, they actually have lost their own little country place when the river nearby flooded. And well, it didn't just flood, it flooded because the dam of that river was blown up. And that was very tragic for them and for us to again relive this whole thing of losing the country property, and we could not understand why would God even allow that. You know, here we are, me and Ryan had a country place before. My parents had a beautiful country place and a garden.
Interestingly enough, we were in Ukraine when we found out that our home in Hawaii was lost.
Yep.
We were trying to visit family.
Yeah.
And now, just a few years later, now our parents lose their home. And shortly after, it went underwater because of the rising, flooding river.
And later after that, it was actually destroyed by a missile.
It was destroyed by a missile.
Because there was a little bit of hope they would go back, but now it's gone. Thankfully, thank God that they had an apartment in town, and so that's where they live now. But it's still very, very difficult for them, especially every time it goes into the winter and it's still war there. We're worried about them not having electricity, and that's the only way they can keep warm. Just their health, their well-being. It's just been really, really hard on us and especially on me. So that's kind of
Complicated things.
Complicated things in our journey.
So in the midst of all that was going on and the difficulties with family and our concerns about their well-being and all of that, and all the challenges that we had with basically every specialty that had to come into the house, for the most part, all their work had to be redone, whether it be drywall or framing or whatever it was. And so at a certain point, we just said, you know what? We're having such a hard time with all of this that we need to let's just step back. The house is out of the weather, and let's just take a little bit of a slower path forward and not
Take
push
a
so
deep
hard.
breath.
Right. And so we felt good with that decision, and we're going to slow things down, push a little less, and then shortly thereafter, we got some news from our landlords who had been leasing this home to us for the past about 5 years we were there. Of course, we never anticipated it being that long, but we were grateful to have this place to live in for the short term, and our landlords communicated to us that they really felt a need on their part financially to increase the rent. And so rather than just a small increase, it was going to be basically a doubling of the rent. And
they gave us, 3 months, I think, right?
Right. And so
before the increase.
Right. So we had just a short window of time. And that would have been okay normally, like we could have managed that. But what you have to realize is that we were financing this house building out of every month's income. And we didn't just have our usual employment. We had, gone out on a limb with our time and our energy to start several business endeavors to increase the income that was coming in monthly, and basically to then double the rent on top of all the expenses we had going out for the building. That was going to be a little too much.
Yeah,
and
so we had to pull up our sleeves again and go straight to the finish line.
So the last several months were very intense because we needed to finish, we needed to move in.
It was grueling.
And but by God's grace, we did it.
Yes.
And it's kind of like that, an analogy I could share would be when you see a marathon runner or Ironman athlete, triathlete, cross the finish time, oftentimes they just collapse. And they collapse and need to be carried off in a stretcher. Well, that kind of felt like the state that we were in by the time we got into the house.
We didn't know it at the time. Our imaginings or our thoughts were that we would move into the house and then the life begins, right? We can relax, everything would be good, we would feel good, everything would be great. Unfortunately, it was not quite that simple. There was quite a journey of healing after that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big reasons why we haven't made this video in such a long time. So first, when we moved into the house and sort of took a sigh of relief, we looked around and realized that our orchards have been neglected for so long because all of our attention was on building and finishing and moving in, that all of our trees were literally crying out, help! They needed to be sprayed, mulched, pruned, like anything you can imagine. And so we went to work, especially Ryan, to rescue the gardens and the trees. Also, obviously we had pretty much zero social life. We have not even traveled anywhere in the last 7 years. So needless to say, we needed to take time for our own family, for just enjoying social life. And we took a couple of trips. We took a trip to the mainland. The children wanted to go there so bad. They haven't been there since they were very little. And later we took a trip island hopping to Kauai and Oahu. And it's just been such a nice time. Now, in between those times, of course, we were still just recovering, just mentally, spiritually, physically. We were just recovering. But what a beautiful place to recover in. We would go take walks outside every morning, every afternoon. We could pick some of the fruits that started to fruit. Yes, I could not think of a better place for us to heal, is in our own home and on our own land.
About 2 months after we moved into the home, I got in a car accident.
Yep.
It was quite a surprise. One afternoon after work, I was just stopped at a stoplight, not moving, and a large truck just plowed right into the back of my vehicle.
Smashing into another truck.
Right, and so there ended up causing a 4-car accident because he rammed me, then my car jumped forward and hit another car, and then he hit another car. And apparently the driver was distracted, didn't see that traffic had stopped, and just plowed into us something like 45 miles an hour.
And this was a brand new car.
That is
to
true.
make things worse.
That is true. But on a positive note, I was not heavily injured.
Yes, it's
Okay.
all in one piece.
and so the firemen and the paramedics who came and extracted me were very vocal about how impressed they were about my condition, considering how smashed the car was.
Yes.
So we were really blessed.
You had to go through some chiropractor work for like a year, I think.
Yeah. Well, there
But
was
that
some.
was-
There were some back pain issues, but
Yeah, but other than
it
that,
could have been much
yes.
worse. So we're thankful for God's
very,
protection.
very thankful for that. So that was interesting
Yeah, and
addition to our journey.
since that time, that was 2 months after we moved in. We've been, like Marina said, traveling, working on fixing up the home, and doing some things in the yard. We've been planting more trees and tending to things, and it's been really nice to enjoy some of the fruits of our labor.
Yes.
We've been eating some pretty good food, more every year.
Yeah, let's just think of some of the fruits that started fruiting in the last couple of years. We've had, just recently we finished enjoying avocados. Of course, we've always had bananas. And we had papayas. Star apple was really, really nice. We have tons of star fruit right now. Just oranges are starting right now, right? The little tangerines and tangelos. What else? Oh,
We had some amazing mangoes.
mangoes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we have I don't know,
My
maybe
favorite fruit.
I don't know how many mango kinds we have, maybe 5 or 6 different varieties, and we've had lots of Kasturi and Lalijiwa, and we
What
have
about-
Odorata
And jackfruit.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't had durians yet. They're still growing
We've
up.
got 13 variety of durian
Wait.
growing.
Did we have jackfruit or champadek?
It was a jackfruit Chempedek hybrid
Okay.
that
Yeah,
we
that was
enjoyed called a
interesting.
China.
Yeah.
That was very nice, and we've been getting fruits from our neighbors, some as gifts and some
Oh, yeah.
purchases. But we live in a nice agricultural community, so there's lots of exotic fruits out there growing around, and we have a
Yeah.
little farmer's market. And
You know, one of the things I remember from our previous property that we always loved is to take walks in our garden. We always would say, this is like our personal Garden of Eden, and we would walk, kind of like Adam and Eve would walk with God, in the cool of the day, right? And we would pick the fruits. And so when we lost that, we already mentioned that when we lost the house is the house, but we lost the way of life. And so for us to, yes, we rebuilt a new house. Yes, we have a different, we have a land with fruit trees. But now when the fruit trees are actually at that stage where they were when we lost our place, it feels so good to just, the way of life is coming back. We're restoring that way of life that we had and that God wanted us to have.
yeah, that is really important.
So that's been a very big part of our healing for sure.
For some years, our children have been very interested in getting pets of their own. And so that was a big part of moving in and settling, was that we got to get everybody their pets.
But before we got to go find the pets, the pets found us. We actually had 3 puppies just wander onto our property, starving. They really needed help. And that was just a few months before we moved in, or a couple of months. And so we adopted them, we fed them, We helped two of them to find another home. And then we left one for our son, Bluey. He's a boy. And he is a mountain cur, right? With blue eyes. And then for our daughter, she wanted to have a big fluffy dog. So we didn't know, where we'd find one or what it would look like, but eventually we found one on Craigslist. And it happened to be right up on our street. Somebody was selling a dog, a Marama and Great Pyrenees mix. So she's like a huge puppy. She was just a few months when we got her, but she was already looking like a big dog. And interestingly, the dog was named the same name that our daughter wanted to name her dog. It was Luna. So now we have Blue and Luna. They're looking at us right now. And but before that, about a year before we moved to the property, when we're going through a very difficult time, God sent us a kitten, a black little kitten. I actually found it on my birthday, and we adopted it. It really needed some rescuing and some love. And it kind of brought our family together around this little kitten. And we call it our therapy cat. He really, she really helped us through our journey, I guess. And now she's once in a while coming by too, but because dogs are here, she's kind of not very welcome.
Another major blessing that we've experienced is that the fact that we are once again debt-free. Yes. When we, shortly before we lost our previous home, we had just finished paying it off. Mm-hmm. And we were starting this new journey with very little. And by God's grace, we were able to keep up with the expenses all the way through and finish the home free of debt. Mm-hmm. And so that's a tremendous blessing.
Yes, definitely. And definitely a peace of mind.
And so now here we are on a property that's more than twice as big as our previous one, with a home that's bigger than our previous one.
I'd say twice as big.
And with maybe twice as much fruit trees.
Yeah.
And a much bigger off-grid solar system. Yeah. And so certainly God has been faithful, and certainly He has blessed us through all the hardship and difficulty.
Yes, it reminds me of the story of Job, that we got double.
Yeah.
The only thing we didn't get double is double the kids. But we got the pets, so we've got 2 kids and 2 pets. I think that will count for doubling, right? So, we're no Job, but
yes.
We went through something very difficult, and we've been wondering, like, when is the time of like the recompense, like it was for Job, when is the blessing time? Well, the question I have for you, Ryan, was it all worth it?
It was.
Now we're here.
It was worth it.
It was worth it. But would you do it again? I don't think so.
We'll pray that we don't have to.
We'll pray we don't have to. Yeah, the country living is definitely not for the faint-hearted. And even though it's a lot more difficult to live in the country, a lot more difficult to find a country place, a lot more difficult to establish the country place, I think that it is still possible. You might have to tweak your plans a little bit and maybe do things a little bit simplified. I don't know. But I think that for those of you who are still in the city and still wanted to get out, I think there's still time. You still should do it. God is still calling you.
If nothing else, our experience has shown that it's possible.
Yes, and if you want to, you can rewatch some of our videos where we talked about it in 2020, and here we are 5 years later, and I think even though the world seems to be going south, I think there's still time. God will still make it work. And we have friends at church who are just now got the property and just starting their country living journey.
We have several
Yes.
friends here in the area.
Yeah, and they're actually the ones who have watched our videos and moved here. And we're very happy for them, and we're praying for them and encouraging them. So we know it's possible, and we know that God will work in their lives just like He worked in our lives.
Yeah, thank you all for joining us throughout these years of updates and reports, and thank you for your prayers and for all the many positive comments and encouragement that you've provided us.
Yes, we're very blessed. Every time we read comments, it's just very, very, very encouraging. And when we started documenting this, we didn't realize how much it would bless people. We just felt impressed to do it because, we had opportunity and ability to do it. But just to hear that for some of you, it started your country living journey and your journey closer to God, it just warms my heart. And for those of you who are wondering what the future of this channel may be, we have been thinking about that as well for a while. And so far, I think that we will be posting videos here and there, definitely not very often. But since planting and gardening and the fruit trees is more of Ryan's interest and hobby, you'll probably be seeing more of him on this channel than us together. But what I am doing recently is I actually have a personal channel that I started in 2020, and I just finally starting it back up after 5 years of not posting there. And it will be more for women like me, mothers, homeschooling mothers, Christians and non-Christians alike, just talking about life and God and different things, and maybe even doing things with recipes or just different things. And if any of you are interested in following me on my personal channel, I will put the link down below. You're welcome there, and I'll be happy to see you there.
So this about wraps up our story for today. We really appreciate you joining us and for thinking of us. We've received a lot of email and comments, and I've been stopped so many times in the aisles at Home Depot asking about how things are going and people wishing us well. And so thank you for that. And we would be interested to hear from you. If you have a moment, maybe you could leave us a comment down below and just let us know how your family is doing.
Yeah, and where are you in your country living journey? And so again, thank you very much for being part of this journey. Thank you very much for joining us and watching us and praying with us and living it with us through the 7-year journey of rebuilding, replanting, restoring of the way of life that God wants for all of us. We pray that wherever you are in your journey, that God will see you through to the very end. And so until we see you next time, aloha and God bless.